Welcome to It's Meaningless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs within the first 5 years of business who are tired of stuck and are ready to stomach the brutal truth. Here we uncover the meaningless daily habits that keep you from protecting and growing in life and in business. This is episode 10, The Psychology of Security. So, welcome. And the I guess the real purpose of the whole topic of psychology of security is effectively to kind of lay a foundation. We've talked about a couple different topics in different podcast episodes before, and on this one I want to take some concerted effort to really lay a foundation for why this topic is important and kind of give you a visualization of how encompassing this topic of security really is. So, I guess at the start, we can start at the place of, as far as security is concerned, the question of what are we securing? What do we want to secure? And I think that is the most important question, no matter what area that you're thinking about, whether it's like physical security or emotional security, relational security, whether it's like data, IT security. It doesn't really matter what area it is. The biggest question when you're talking about wanting to secure is, what do you want to secure? And that sounds simple. However, it's something. It's probably the biggest thing we mess up in talking about security, because of the fact that there's a saying that if you try to protect everything, then you'll protect nothing. In effect, you're protecting nothing. Um, and so when we go into new relationships, new partnerships, new business relationships, with the idea of, let me protect everything, we actually wind up missing out and realizing, or eventually coming to realize, hopefully we come to realize it, that we aren't protecting anything. Frankly, especially in situations like that, the end result usually winds up being that we miss out on the opportunities, which in that point it's not protection. Um, you can say in the end that you protected yourself when you miss out on an opportunity that could have been beneficial, um, if, like, assuming that there was something in there you didn't particularly like. Um, you could say that you protected yourself, um, but it's not really protection if it keeps the things away from us that are good for us. And there's a bunch of different nuances there, but I think, like, to generalize that whole thing, there's the benefit is, I think the benefit we perceived is in when we come to a place of having a more open mind, that is, being able to be more creative in situations, effectively approaching situations like that, is in how can, not necessarily how can I make this work, because that probably goes a little bit too far to the other side, because how can I make this work kind of negates the idea of Like there needs to be some level of vetting. Um, but effectively, yeah, I guess it is. It's kind of both and. It's like after I've identified like what are the absolute things that need to be protected, like absolute must things that need to be protected. After I identified those things, then it's how can I make this work. So it's kind of both and. But and of course, the purpose of this episode is actually um, to go into that question of like identifying what those things, those must protect things are. So part of, I want to go do a couple of scenarios. So part of the point of how we think about or how security works is one of the things that we miss in security is like culturally we've come to a place of believing that there is a way, and I guess that's kind of the thing that has to be broken down first, that we have come to the place of believing that there is a way to like protect it all, to guard it all. I say especially probably here in the United States, probably more than most places. Like we've come to believe that there's a way to have engagements, and again, in whatever area you're talking about, in relationships, in business, um, in financial engagements, um, in terms of um, like physical security. Like there's a way to have engagements without suffering, effectively without being scathed, without having any wounds or scars as a result. Which I know that sounds so bad. Like we've just as part of the point, like we've conditioned ourselves so much to believe that we won't ever get wounded. Um, and the problem with that is, yes, it's not true. The problem is with that is that it's not true. Um, in addition, when we as people were designed to seek to go out to I want to say conquer, to attain, um, yeah, to acquire. And when we have these kind of um, I don't know, stay in your box kind of things, stay in your box, guard your box kind of mindsets, it limits our ability to go out and achieve, go out and acquire, go out and conquer. And that's that limitation effectively um, it messes with like who we are as people. Like it's like taking the wild um, out of a lion. Um, like you take the wild out of a lion, that is, you domesticate a lion. You can't go put them back in the wild. Um, like you could, but I mean that's definitely inhumane, probably, because effectively, like they'd be toast. Um, but the same is with us, and that we haven't been taken out of the wild, our wild, and so to the extent that we pretend as though there's some way that we can get through life without having scars or setbacks. Um, to the extent that we pretend like that, like we're really like only we're big time hurting ourselves. Um, and I guess keeping us from being able to achieve new to yeah to achieve new to yeah to do more. So that's that's the part of that. But then I want to go back to the part of defining what's important or what we want to protect. So I want to do this just from the standpoint of we can talk about it from the standpoint of physical security. And I'm not like a super expert on um, like physical security. Like I've done as being in IT and having done a few projects, I've done some stuff with physical security, but not a lot. But like I'll just use this as an example. It'll be good enough, I think, for you to be able to get the point of how security works in every single area. So with physical security, say like you have a home, a place that you're wanting to protect. So number one, you have locks on doors. Number two, you actually use them, hopefully. Uh, and so locks on the doors, locks on the windows. Um, and so that's probably like your first layer of physical security. Um, Number two, you may have an alarm system, um, which of course would be tied to, well, in most cases, tied to some type of monitoring service. Um, Number four, because that was kind of like two and three. Number four, you might have cameras. Um, and pretty much either around the perimeter and or inside. Um, Five, you might have a gate like around the property. Uh, and so there's various things you could have. Um, with those possibilities of like things in place, there's other things that you could potentially have in terms of security, but um, and I guess multiple variations of those things. Um, with those things in place, um, so say you have, yeah, let's just say you have all those things in place. But so effectively, yeah, let's just say you have all those things in place. Um, and you have this $20,000, I don't know, yard piece out in front. Um, so I don't know. Someday, these guys come back a truck through your gate. That is pretty much crushing your gate. Put your yard piece in the truck and drive off. What? Like, how were you at that point? Like, what's your means for security? Like, if they're able to breach your property, grab this piece, put it in their truck, drive off, what's the level of security? You might say, oh, we got them on camera, we got their license plate on camera. Maybe, probably not. Um, you got their faces on camera, probably not. Maybe, I don't know. But and even if you did, like, even if you did, let's just say you did, that the unfortunately the track record of law enforcement of like detectives and stuff for finding people like that is not very good, which has nothing really to do about the law enforcement, especially since, well, except for, not for about them in particular, but as far as um, I don't know, I guess their organizations, the municipalities, wherever, whatever jurisdiction, as a whole. Number one, like, they're just like most people, most businesses these days, they're understaffed. So they've got way more stuff to do than they have the bandwidth for. So that's number one. They may not, like, that's not a good bet. In other words, if that's something that you really highly value, betting on security cameras to get it back for you, that's not a good bet. So again, and this is why we're having this conversation about security, about psychology of security, because if you don't understand, like, the nuances of what security means, what is secure versus what's not, and I guess that's probably the biggest problem with when we talk about this topic. We say what's secure, but nothing is secure, as in nothing is 100% secure. I was gonna say, yeah, nothing is 100% secure. Yeah, I was gonna say like Fort Knox secure, but that's not even. In other words, there are scenarios in which that's not even secure. So in other words, we're talking about levels of security. So you could say Fort Knox level of security, which that's pretty secure. Um, but we so unless you understand the levels of security and kind of what you're matching it up against. So like let's just say, for instance, like um you you had a instead of the $20,000 piece out in the front yard, you had, I don't know, water sprinkler system. Um, yeah, water sprinkler system. Um, below ground, below ground. Um, you have the gate around. So, as far as levels of security are concerned, I would say that uh, the gate would probably be sufficient enough uh, level, if you will, to protect those water sprinklers. Um, just because you couple it with, like, all things considered, um, just because, like, not too many people are willing to back their truck into some gate to get their shovels out to dig up your water sprinkler system. Um, yeah. So that's kind of how this process works. I'll take it a little bit further. So say we go inside the house. Um, I don't know. Say you have a bunch of cash somewhere in the house. Um, so you have the again, you have the cameras outside, you have the gate outside, you have um, um, what do you have? Oh, alarm system, doors locked, um, something else. Um, so you have all that in place, and you have cash in the house. It's like, is it secure? Let's just say, well, yeah, let's say you have it in a safe. So that, in most cases, would probably be pretty secure, unless you keep your safe combination on your desk somewhere. uh, or, and this is like realistic, somebody you know, somebody who lives with you is, yeah, would be someone to take your cash. Um, which, again, like, these are the things that we don't really even think about. Yes. So, like, in those scenarios, um, the other levels of security that we talked about really don't matter too much. Even if someone managed to, even in the other scenario of the truck back into your yard, this time they're not after anything in the yard. They bust through the front door, run to the safe, get the stuff out. Um, Again, it's at that point, like, it's back to whether or not the cameras caught them or not. And that's not a good bet when, like, you can know ahead of time, hide whatever, obscure your vehicle, hide your face, like, don't leave fingerprints. Like, in other words, this is like, I don't know. To me, this is the reason for this is because if we don't think about these kinds of things when we're thinking about security ahead of time, then that's when we start engaging in, like, meaningless behaviors. Um, yeah, things that we think we're doing to protect, we're wasting our time, our energy, our resources, which could have been spent on doing things to push forward the agendas that we want to actually accomplish, as opposed to trying to protect something that we're not even protecting. So, yeah, this this part, like I said, is particularly important because of the fact that is in your life. Um, because effectively, like, if we don't, if we can learn to see security the way it is, then we're better able to secure what we really want to secure. So, in the case of the cash, the truth is, that's about, like, if you were to do that, obviously probably um, keep your combination, I don't know, memorized, or if, like, if you have to put it somewhere, make sure you put it somewhere that it itself is secure. Like, for instance, like, you could go put if you had to have another copy of your um, yeah, if you had to have another copy um, of your combination somewhere, you could put it in a like a safety deposit box. That way, and of course, I was laughing because I'm like, just make sure you don't keep the key to your safety deposit box in your safe at home. Then it's like double lockout. Um, so anyway, so you could do that. Um, which, although the point is, in the case of the cash, like that, the scenario we went through is a kind of a reasonably secure scenario. But again, the point is that whatever we do to secure something, like there's always a way to unsecure it. Um, it's like it's like our thing of yeah, actually this might be a little bit of a crude scenario, but uh it's like we I guess when someone oh, actually, yes, that was the movie I was watching. I think it was one of the Bourne movies, um, or maybe it was not. Anyway, but effectively, I think somebody put a bag over somebody's head to 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 suffocate them. Um, it was maybe in some other movie, but effectively, just holding the bag tight around their neck, um, and um, effectively, I think they wound up suffocating them like that. Um, and the person's comment was like, they never go for the bag. They always go for like the throat. In other words, they're holding your hands around their neck. Um, they always go for the throat. Which, I mean, obviously, if anybody could have like torn the bag apart. Uh, but in other words, that's the kind of mindset a lot of times that we have when we're trying to protect is we focus on like the front door. Does it have a kick plate? Does it have the best locks? And then forget about, oh, there's a little side window right here that's just a little piece of glass that somebody can knock in. So when we're on this topic of security, and I know I talked a lot about physical security, but like this concept is everywhere. I'm in the IT space. In IT, um, yeah, I've been around enough to know, and I feel like I've just even recently come to realize this. Like when most people, like in like IT security, like specifically IT security roles, or technology companies, when most people talk about security, it's usually a bunch of blurb, like, which don't get me wrong. Now there's one part of that which is, in order to secure something, you can't really like go broadcasting what your strategy is for securing. So that's kind of one thing. Um, and at the same time, I realized that most people don't really understand um, what security is. And then, frankly, until you understand this concept, that is the psychology of security, then you can't adequately protect anything. So, really, the thing for this podcast is for this episode is for you is what is it that you want to protect in life, like what is most important. Not like you can't protect everything. um you can't protect the ornament out in the yard, like you just can't. But maybe there's some things that you can protect in the house. You can hide it well. um you can have all the other barriers and layers of security, but the question becomes, what do you want to protect most? And once you start from there, then you can get to, you can be freed to attain and pursue like things that you, goals that you want to accomplish out in front. So that is all I have for today. And again, we're here Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, so that's all. And I'll see you next time.